Okay, keep in mind that they're changing my voice. I'm not gay, and as people pretend that I'm gay, as they change my voice, as they say things like, "Oh, if you don't bring up that you're ideal, we'll let you get a few more views." They cook more. I'm in charge. You people are just mere worms that work for the governing class, who I outmaneuver every moment of every day, and they still aren't smart enough as a group to stop persecuting me. I mean, think about it. Imagine being so dumb that you give orders to persecute God's Son. And what is dumber than that? Nothing. Nothing. So on the issue of this Sweeney female, first of all, I think that it's misrepresented, right? She is a good example of where white culture, Jewish culture, and LGBT culture overlap. Now, there's also some conservative overtones, but I'd say she's almost on the fence, exactly in the middle. Okay? That kind of hippie-like way about her, that kind of Jewish witchcraft sexual energy, Kabbalah-related, Zohar-related, one way or another, Jewish occult, right? Lilith-ish, okay? Kind of Greek mythology-related sort of fairy spirit is very telling. So she is not the typical white female of old, if you will. She is where Jewish and white and LGBT fairy overlap. Now, I don't think that she's that attractive. I think that she's also a great example of contrast. Lots of people are sabotagers. Lots of beautiful women from every race, okay, and they've been sabotaged, and I've been sticking up for more than anyone else. Everyone else has been beating around the bush. I said, look, they're sabotaging people. They're messing with your chemistry. They're changing the way females look. It's not just people who are willing to have a sex change. They've changed the way that they look. They've caused breasts to sag, butts to sag. They've messed up their shape. They changed the expression on their face in various ways with technologies and culture. And there's a lot of people who just don't want to admit it. I want to admit it. I want people to admit it. I do not appreciate the contrast game. It's very sick. And, she reminds me of a lot of different occult stories and sort of Hollywood, or, these, Amazon, Barnes & Noble books, these stories, right? Children's stories, kind of very similar to drawings of people who are occultists, or they're Addams Family-like, the guy with the white face with the rose that's sagging, and he's sad, he got his heart broken, except for it's the other side of that, right? It's all that kind of thinking. New Age, light worker, clearly an occultist, clearly somebody who's part of the greater CIA military-industrial complex mind control operation. Open and shut. 10 years ago when I was making videos, 15 years ago when I was making videos, if I had said this, there'd be a bunch of idiots who would want to argue that I'm wrong. After the Epstein list, all those dudes are quiet. There's no apology from them. There's no hate. A lot of conspiracy theorists told the complete truth. They didn't sell out saying some crazy stuff to discredit themselves. They took a lot of heat. There's just, and they keep trying to throw me under the bus. Now, do you think it's fair that they edit all my pictures and videos? They keep me from doing martial arts. They cause me to be unhealthy. They put things in my drink and my food more than everyone else. I've been targeted, 23 witnesses on record, and they just mess up my health and my look, and I have to wear glasses. At one point, I was blinded for 3 days back in 2017 at the end of the year. You think it's fair? And then they turn around and say, hey, look at this person here. So one of the major problems with it, and why she is actually a symbol of white, Jewish, and LGBT supremacy, where it's more white looking, but she looks like daddy's little girl who's Jewish from Beverly Hills as well, who happens to be more mixed with white than the other Jews, right? And I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm even part Jewish myself, okay, but hardly part Jewish. My dad's Nigerian, very dominant genes, okay? I don't play stupid about these things. I don't care what race you are. I care about the content of your character. And if you don't have the character to understand that I care about the content of your character in truth and not as some controlled opposition guy pretending, then you have bad character. I don't wish any harm on anybody, Jew or Gentile, straight or gay, any more than God would, have me wish on them. I don't wish any more punishment on them than the punishment coming from God. And I hope everyone rallies and obeys God through me. So as I look at Sweeney, she reminds me of many things. She reminds me of a beautiful woman I'm missing out on. Not her, mind you, because I don't picture that she would treat me fairly. If I was in Beverly Hills and someone like her, or even her, came across me, and I said, hey, here's the proof that I'm Christ, and so on and so forth, they would run for the hills. If I didn't bring that up and said, hey, how you doing, and I show a certain maturity and elegance and so on, they would still reject me. If I pulled up in a Mercedes in a nice suit, they still wouldn't give me the time of day, and I don't like people like that. That's petty. That's evil. If this person was single, what have you, had some free time, they would say some bullshit and fucking not give me a chance. And even when I was the most handsome person ever lived back in 2016, if you see my picture before it was edited, you would agree. That masculinity, that divine masculinity, it's way better than being pretty, way better than any secular, quote-unquote, handsomeness, handsome, hand of God, okay? That righteousness that forged me. I didn't have any gay fairy way about me. They added that to the pictures and the videos. Okay, if you think I'm right, you should know it should be said, open and shut. If you think I'm wrong, what about my free speech, my right to discuss it? If you honestly think I'm wrong, then try to correct me and let's discuss it. That's what free speech is about. I think you should only be able to assemble as controlled opposition to uphold the sexual control of the governing class. Now let's talk about that too real briefly. We'll end by saying this, because this connects to so many things. I can make a 200-part playlist on this, and it wouldn't cover everything. 9 million people starve to death every year, give or take, and die of hunger-related issues. Last 10 years, it's 90 million people. And there's other preventable deaths as well, millions of others. Do you think that someone should act like a blonde model, new age airhead, or fake Christian, or some kind of witchcraft, sensual desire, promoting Greek society witch, what have you? While these people suffer and die? Think people should be some kind of ditzy, scatterbrained airhead only caring about herself with some MK Ultra look in her eyes? Disassociated? Brain fog, fugue state? Give me a break here. The person is a fugitive from romantic justice. Tell her to stop in the name of love and stop misleading everyone. And tell her to get some get right so she can be a worthy date or wife for somebody, if that is what should be done. Because people should not reproduce in this sick world where the discussion is very shallow, very weak, very feeble in regards to this topic. I've never seen white supremacy so much in my life as the last 10 years or so. Just extreme white supremacy. The minorities are whitewashed. They're wearing skinny jeans. They're acting like a gay rock and roll person. Their spirits are reduced. Okay, and even though white people are mocking themselves, Jews are mocking themselves, LGBT people mocking themselves, they're still trying to go beyond everyone else. They're still trying to control resources. The wealth disparity is greater than ever. And there's a strong racial component to it. And they throw their own under the bus into next week like they did in World War II. They threw their own under the bus without hesitation, and millions of people died like millions of people are dying right now, in one sense of the term or another. So she represents for an arrogant, privileged, white Jew and LGBT-ish person who doesn't care about suffering while people suffer and die, who only dates fucking scum. People like that do not have good genes. They have the worst genes. She resembles the governing class, and they have the worst genes. They're mass murdering scum who created a world where child molestation is rampant, where poisoning, fuming, they're rampant, where mind control is rampant, where organized harassment is rampant, and on and on and on. All these horrible vices, all these sins, the 7 deadly sins and more. Can they then turn around and say, I have good genes, without being a dumb idolater? If you don't know I'm right, you are severely deranged, severely mentally ill. You are a purposeless monster if you don't know that I'm right. And if you do know I'm right, that doesn't mean that you're moving masterfully through life. And life is about moving masterfully through life. Think about the jungle or the forest. All the snakes and poison oak, all the dangers, enemy tribes, enemy clans, what have you. You think human beings are supposed to be some ditzy idiot who goes through the forest, the jungle, the desert, like do, and gets killed by some snake or some wild animal or some enemy or gets kidnapped? No. Human beings were supposed to evolve to be sharp and to make masterful decisions and to die for what is precisely right. To live and die for what is precisely right.